Hello all, welcome back to Rogue Trader, of course, game operator and narrator. So we just wrapped up the planet world, so let's go ahead and see what's next. I think we have a whole cavalcade of things we could possibly do. I am thinking we're probably going to hit up the Navis Nobilite station. Lord Captain, sorry to disturb you. He just pauses as if listening to something. It's pandemonium outside the bridge area. One of the officers seems to be demanding an audience with you in person. I think I hear Master Wassarian's voice. In any case, I wanted to warn you in advance. Oh, good. Immediate problems on the Void ship. And what, pray tell, is your problem? The everyday sounds of the bridge are disrupted by voices raised in anger. Abelard's voice the loudest of all. This is not the conduct of an officer. These are the antics of a highborn brat out on a lark. Explain yourself, Lieutenant. The young woman standing before Abelard strives with all her might not to quail under the onslaught of her superior's anger. She falters, but then manages to look him in the eye and say, I apologize, sir, but I must speak to the Lord Captain. Very well, Lieutenant. You may address the Lord Captain, not least because I see you have already seen fit to disturb him. Your unauthorized appearance on the bridge and display of belligerence toward a higher-ranking officer will be logged in your personal file without delay. Lord Captain, Lieutenant, Avril Vent, requesting permission to speak. Vent falls silent and then adds rashly, on a matter of extreme importance and urgency. You may speak, but I want to hear a report, not a shouting match. Having two officers bickering in full view of the bridge is unacceptable. I'm sorry, Lord Captain. I thought that drastic times called for drastic measures, Vent exclaims hotly. This matter cannot wait. Any minute now, an assault unit will be dispatched to the lower decks in order to crush the workers' strike by any means necessary. But I am convinced that this step is unwarranted, and that the crisis itself was provoked by the actions of one of the senior officers. Vent is almost trembling with tension as she delivers her speech, her face extremely pale. Abelard, in no hurry to intervene, lets out a skeptical huff. He glances at Sauerback, who is standing not far from him, but she maintains a stony expression. Lord Captain, I urge you to investigate the actions of Seneschal Wassarian. Okay. And to intervene in what's happening on the lower decks, because very soon we will have a mutiny or a massacre in our hands. Vent reels off the last words as though she knows them by heart. She has clearly been preparing to say them for some time. When she is finished, she casts an anxious glance at Abelard, then at you. There's an insurrection in the making aboard my ship and no one has informed me? I would not deem it a problem worthy of the rogue trader's attention. The lower decks, as it so happens, are in revolt. 30-some years ago, we even had a revolutionary leader rise up who dared to establish workers' rule across the entire ship. It took a month to restore order, but even 8 years later, we were still battling rumors that the hero had survived his execution and was on the verge of gathering people to fight against tyranny once more. Abelard scoffs. Needless to say, the rumors were baseless. As for the current situation, we have sufficient enforcers to deal with it. But on this ship, the word of the Lord Captain carries more weight than a salvo from 100 bolters. I'm sure that if the rogue trader addresses the malcontents directly, he will quell their unrest. I dread to think what problem you will disturb the rogue trader with next. Perhaps you will ask the Lord Captain to bring up brawls in the mess room. I've already given you a means to resolve this problem. You simply need to use them. If I may, your lordship, sending a hit squad to crush the rebellion is a means of ignoring the problem, not solving this. Okay, how did this all start? The situation could boil over at any minute, so I'll give you the condensed version. It all began when the enforcers found a cultist amulet on the body of someone who'd been killed in a drunken brawl. We reported it up the chain immediately, arranging for a cleansing rite to be performed and opened an investigation. No heretics have been found alive, but the search has brought tensions between enforcers and workers to a head. So where does the Seneschal come into all this? I shall explain, Abelard intones grimly. I beg you to hurry, time is running out. I will not hurry, since my competence is under scrutiny. I shall speak for as long as I see fit. There is an established order on the way things are done on the ship, and one of the pillars of that system is that the rogue trader's attention is not distracted by trivial matters. It is the Seneschal's role to ensure that. I have always handled internal problems myself, so, of course, when I received information about cultists hiding on the lower decks, I took the matter in hand. So long as I live, not one of the vermin who murdered Theodora will find refuge on her ship. You are far too heavy-handed, Seneschal. Arrests and interrogations, mass punishments for the entire sectors. It has driven the people to the brink, Vance says bitterly. Now there's a strike on the lower decks, in Depot 4 to be precise. 3 worker clans are involved, but many more are passively supporting them. The situation could degenerate into an all-out insurrection. But when I reported my concerns, the only response I received was an order to dispatch an assault unit and crush the strike with maximum force. Master-at-Arms, the ship's enforcers report to you, and yet you seem hesitant to provide your own perspective. Lord Captain, unlike Lieutenant Vent, I respect the chain of command and realize it is not within my right to challenge my superiors. Zarback bows her head in Abelard's direction. However, a moment later, a serpentine smile appears on her lips. That being said, while I entirely share the Seneschal's opinion of what fate Depot 4 deserves, I must note that this insubordination is a direct consequence of practices that he himself has introduced. Okay. Mistress Zarback, I see you've decided to follow the lieutenant's example after all. Such behavior does you no credit. Interesting. Interesting. Zarback, explain yourself. The ship's regulations state that the Master-at-Arms is responsible for resolving all matters related to the ship's enforcers, and yet it is no secret that the Seneschal has a tendency to show particularity. Those enforcers and officers who he has deemed particularly promising are at times given permission to approach him for tutelage. I cannot deny Master Seneschal's experience and insight. The Seneschal has a record of fostering students who have indeed achieved much and demonstrated impeccable performance. However, extending such patronage over the head of their immediate superior encourages disregard for hierarchy among your lordship's servants. Today, an enforcer goes to the Seneschal to report an order from the Master-at-Arms that they happen to disagree with. Tomorrow, they will go to the Lord Captain to object to the Seneschal's orders. And notice a pattern in these actions. Lieutenant Bent, would you say the Seneschal singled you out from your peers in any way? Lord Captain, I swear that the Seneschal has never granted me any privileges, never once advocated for me, nor facilitated my promotions, although he is the man who convinced me to become an officer in the first place. He has offered me extensive guidance in my service, for which I am grateful to him. And while not all my fellows receive such attention, I know of at least a dozen fine officers whom the Seneschal keeps in his sights to ensure that they continue to strive. To prepare new generations of the dynasty's servants, to instruct them and to separate those with potential from those who have exhausted it. That is my duty as Seneschal. This ship has bays worth of pilots, enforcers, officers, technicians, and stewards whom I've raised personally. By the throne, every third person standing on this bridge right now was my student at one point. Abelard, do you wish to respond? Mr. Zarback, can you recall an occasion where I would encourage an officer to disobey their superior, or one where I would overrule their order, or show favoritism to those who merited none? None, Seneschal, for there have been no such cases in the entire time I have served aboard this ship. If anyone were to claim otherwise, I would have them pay for insulting your honor with blood. Your conduct in this regard have always been spotless. Nevertheless, given your eminent position, a simple show of attention on your part is enough to erode the prosperity of junior officers, inflate their sense of self-importance, and undermine discipline. That you distinguish some of them and know them by name is tantamount to walking around the officer's deck handing out gifts to officers who have caught your eye. It fills those you set apart with ambition and audacity, makes them stand out among the rest. Enforcers are meant to be faceless servants, fighters ready to die, their fate entrusted to the commander and no one else. That is the sole foundation of order. I see. Evidently, my officers are anything but a shining example of unity and adherence today. I have only myself to blame, I suppose. All right, Abelard, what do you have to say to all this? I see no need to add anything. I acted within the remit of my authority, guided exclusively by the best interests of your protectorate and your personal safety. If you wish to confirm the rectitude of my actions for yourself, I have no objections. For my part, I urge the Lord Captain to go down to the lower decks, stop the assault unit, and speak directly to the people. You will see that they are not lying or harboring heretics. That way you will stop the uprising before it begins. Let's see. I am certain the Seneschal was acting with his authority, but I will verify the soundness of his decisions for myself. Throne preserve you, Lord Captain. I thank you for your support. Abelard grits his teeth tightly. An enterprise bordering on the sophomoric, but please yourself, Lord Captain. However, I categorically insist that I escort you. Lord Captain, I regret the enforcers were unable to handle the situation, which then led to your and the Seneschal's involvement. I considered it my duty to go to Depot for myself and see to the expedient resolution of this incident. I'm going to take everybody. Everybody goes. And what goes on here? "'Tis not more than the lower deck rabble." Hello. Oh, they love you. Abelard reflexively wipes the sweat from his brow in a startlingly human gesture, and a telling one. A rare moment where he allows his age and wariness to show through his armor like veneer of self-assurance. "The lower decks are a source of endless problems. Sometimes I dearly regret that we cannot replace all the locals with servitors." "Did you hear? They were shouting your name." "Of course they were. The organization of the daily routine life of the ship rests upon my shoulders. The mountain of challenges and problems from which I endeavor to insulate you, Lord Captain. The situation in the lower decks has been a cause for concern, and I have intervened personally on more than one occasion. That must be why they remember me. They do not know your face. To them, you are akin to a creature of legend, one who has stood on the steps of the Golden Throne, no less. Whereas I am the man whose name is attached to every order docking rations or lowering a bay's heating." Okay. If people dared to respect a senior officer, they would not have the chance to express such disrespect if we were not here, and if the situation had been dealt with by the relevant officers. Abelard grimaces. "It is a junior officer's worst failing to pass problems up the chain of command. I have never been able to abide it. I shall say it again. It was a mistake to come here on Lieutenant Vent's whim, Lord Captain." "I must admit that the lieutenant is by no means the worst material for an officer," Abelard adds peevishly. "But in the name of Terra, the girl is the same age as my eldest great-granddaughter, and she has the gall to tell me how to manage the lower decks and hunt down cultists. There'll be another 20 years at least before she can be trusted to act without oversight." Yeah, Let's keep moving. We need to get to the bottom of this.
Let the faith guide my path to
Valve?
glory.
Valve does nothing.
Over there.
Appears to be a valve. You there! In a second, looks like I'll die here too. That sounds about right. No. Go in. Goods. Goods for my own ship. Don't mind me, rebel.
Step.
Just taking all of your goods and contraband.
I still do not see our purpose in coming here.
Relax, old man.
Whoops. The sounds of a heated discussion reverberate through the ship's bays. Lieutenant Vent of the ship's enforcers is barring the path of her superior, Master-at-Arms Sourback, who has arrived clad in armor. Judging by their expressions and tone, the standoff has dragged on for some time already, and has now reached a boiling point. Lieutenant Vent, my patience is wearing thin. I have given you an order, now get out of my way. I cannot comply with that order, ma'am. Vent looks shaken, but there is fire in her eyes. This is my deck and my sector. So long as this area remains under the Lord Captain's special oversight, no action can be taken without my express permission. There are only 3 people who are authorized to make me stand down. The first officer, the rogue trader, and the Emperor himself. All right, Vent. So not all my lessons are falling on deaf ears. Abelard mutters in crabby approval. He does not clarify whether he means Vent, the Sourback looming over her, or both. Your lordship! Noticing you, the 2 officers snap to attention and salute, the subordinates following suit a moment later. What's the situation? Your lordship, my people have locked down the bay where the strikers are, including their leaders. We have the situation under control as far as resources allow. Under control, Lieutenant. I come here to lead an investigation unit, and what do I see? The rabble is on the verge of mutiny. There is nothing to investigate. This simply calls for immediate repressions and firing squads. And you, Vent, are a step away from facing charges yourself. We encountered some locals on our way here. The conduct was outrageous. They even tried to throw things at us. Vent's gaze is full of worry and regret. The people are getting desperate, clearly. They saw the assault unit and they decided they had nothing left to lose. I mean, I apologize, Lord Captain. It is outrageous. I'm sure the people simply didn't recognize you. It wouldn't have occurred otherwise. We will deal with them once the current situation is resolved. How badly do we rip Vent? Is that all you have to say? Are you sure you're worthy of an officer's rank, Lieutenant Vent? For a split second, Vent freezes in fear, but she pulls herself together, straightens, and clips out. Forgive me, Lord Captain. I will take steps to ensure such a thing does not happen again. I want to speak to the strikers. Abelard's mouth twists, but he restrains himself and says nothing. Right you are, Lord Captain. Allow me to wish you good luck. Hope gleams in Lieutenant Vent's eyes. Good luck, eh? What's all this then? A dozen pairs of eyes stare apprehensively at you. The people before you are typical inhabitants of the lower decks. You take in their simple clothing, crude weapons, and faces that display varying levels of mutation, from the barely discernible to the strange to the outright grotesque. A whisper passes through the crowd, and you detect a mixture of fear, astonishment, and joy in their reactions. Finally, 3 people break away from the crowd. An elderly woman and 2 men. These must be the leaders. They bow clumsily before you. Lord Captain, you have come down to us. We were attacked on the way here. How do you explain that? Can I do an old grandma voice? Here's an explanation for you. The people have been pushed to the limit, and now they're lashing out. And if we don't know why those top deck units are being sent down here, like the one here that the lieutenant won't let past. Our clans are all inside the bay that's been sealed off. The lower decks are big. I'm sure there are some people who've had just about enough. We're getting it from all sides. The soldiers have encircled the ones who've risen up. A death squad just arrived. It's no wonder folks are lashing out. Their words seem sincere to you. Their body language and the glances traded between them revealed the news of the attack has shocked them. Tell me what's troubling you. Why are you striking? Striking? That's news to us, your lordship, says a tall, thin man in worker's garb. All we're doing is asking questions, saying what we think. Shut up, Rivet, snaps the old woman, who turns her hostile dark eyes on you. Here's the deal, your lordship. Your damned enforcers are all over us down here. They say they're looking for cultists. One wrong word and they're reaching for the batons. They want to punish someone. They turn off the heating to hold bays for a week at a time, so we get sick and freeze. In my clan, 2 little ones died from inflammation in their lungs, all because of those enforcers. The old woman spits on the floor and rubs at the spittle with the toe of her worn-out shoe. Argenta does not interrupt the workers, but you see the sadness well in her eyes when the children's death are mentioned. She quietly whispers a requiem prayer and makes a sign over herself. It's all true. Vent is the only enforcer officer who stood up for us. It's clear as day who had a mother from the lower decks, and who grew up in midship and has no fellow feeling towards us. The grim man with the scarred face throws up his arms. Your lordship, we're no villains here. We're honest workers. You're servants. We've plotted no disorder. We went on strike openly, and now we've got guns pointed at us. All we're doing is asking to be allowed to work in peace without being harassed. The persecution started a propos of nothing, you say. I was told that one of you was found in possession of a cultist amulet, and that there are heretics hiding here. A cultist amulet? What's that? The gewgaw they found in the dead drunkard? If it was something evil or forbidden, we sure didn't know. The enforcers just said they were looking for heretics among us, and anyone obstructing their investigation would be punished. But how could there be heretics here? We know our own people. There have been no new faces around. Definitely not. And if there were, we'd be the first to report them. And as for this amulet, or whatever it is, they took it off a dead body. There are no cultists still breathing in our sector, that's for sure. But when that fight broke out, some enterprising folks looted the bodies. The boots they came back with. Nobody's ever tread these decks in boots so fine, I can tell you that. Seems to me these cultists have better commanders than us. Easy, easy there, lady. Oh yeah, those boots are really fine. And there was no harm in taking them, right? As for the amulet, it must have been pocketed by someone who didn't know any better. We don't need any amulets around here. We all worship the Emperor, and when we're working we bow down before the machine spirits of the large and small transformers and the servo motor. The same way my grandfather was taught 100 years ago by a tech priest who came calling. Believe us, your lordship, we are people of faith. Naive children, weren't you taught from an early age about the dangers of the arch enemy's creations? Weren't you warned that any unfamiliar object could be one of them? If they're in the bowels of the ship, probably not, Argenta.
We were told, Holy Sister, but it was a long time ago. The last time we saw Confessor in our sector, it was just after I had my third little one.
That is regrettable. But you cannot lay the burden of leading a righteous life on the shoulders of the Holy Fathers. Who will you blame when beasts crawl over these amulets you stole from the heretics? The Holy Father who was not here? Or the scavenger who brought evil down on himself and his neighbors? Abelard, what do you have anything to say? I authorize the use of all necessary measures to locate Chaos worshippers hiding in this sector. The specific steps taken by the officers were not reported to me. Abelard frowns, clearly disgruntled at having to explain himself in the workers' presence. Nevertheless, I am certain that their actions were justified. Cultists are no drunken stevedores. They are the enemy and a threat to the ship. Neutralizing them demands decisive action. Sarback, was it really necessary to torture these people with cold? The rabble understands only one language, Lord Captain, that of violence. As per regulations, should the laborers persist in their unwillingness to cooperate, the next step is limiting air supply and cutting off water, which is almost certain to restore order. The peasants can grumble all they want, but in the end, they are the source of their own misery. All they have to do is bow their heads and fall in line, and the need for punitive measures will disappear. What changes do you want?
Well, would you look at this? The exalted Lord Captain himself is asking us bilge rats what we want. Well, here's what. We want you to rein in your damned enforcers, to quit turning off the heat, and to stop battering everything that moves. No, that's not it. We want the enforcers gone from here, and we want to be armed. Give us arms, and we'll govern ourselves. We'll defend ourselves if these cultists do show their faces. I've been leader of my clan for 20 years now. Getting rid of these club-wielding thugs can only improve things around here.
I don't know. You've gone too far, old man. They'll never let the maggots on the lower decks live without the enforcers breathing down their necks. They probably even insist on enforcers on the upper decks, too. As for weapons, what do we need them for? Before the first day's out, we'll have someone shooting their neighbors out of stupidity or drunkenness. We don't need that. If the enforcers stop hassling us, that'll be enough. In return, we'll find the scavengers who robbed the cultists' bodies and we'll talk to them, one lower decker to another. If there are any more of those damned amulets about, we'll hand them over to the enforcers ourselves.
You speak for yourself and your clan, and I'll speak for me and mine. I don't want empty gestures. I want real change. They promise us the world now, but as soon as the Anointed One turns his back, these brutes will be on us even hotter than before, all because we dared to speak up.
The tall worker's eyes dart between the two arguing leaders. Every few seconds, he opens his mouth as if planning to agree, but each time he falls silent, simply making a few vague noises of approval. I do have a coercion option.
Master-at-Arms, where do you stand?
Give the rabble a grox and they will take an agri-world, Lord Captain. They only understand brute force and will interpret any concession as a sign of weakness. Giving them weapons and recalling the enforcers would be folly. It would only be a matter of time before we had a full-scale mutiny on our hands.
Thoughts, Abelard? The story about scavenging for boots and accidentally picking up a heretical amulet doesn't convince me. These people were moments away from rebelling and possibly becoming minions of the archenemy. We must not give them what they want. Either they did acquire something innocently, purely out of their own stupidity. That does not mean they are not tainted with corruption. What begins as petty thievery can turn into a far graver problem. I have seen it before.
Abelard's face darkens momentarily.
In my second war, there was a sergeant in the Imperial Guard regiment that was stationed nearby. The sergeant took an ordinary pocket knife from the body of a heretic, and his whole unit lost their lives for it. When they finally managed to break into the barracks, they found not a single survivor. Only the pocket knife, which had grown through all the rows of the beds like a metal choking vine. So when it comes to scavengers, malcontents, strikers, or whatever they'll turn into next, my verdict is simple.
Give them no quarter. I could kill everybody. I am not giving them weapons. No. Nope. That is not happening. That's all that chaos would need. Spreading anarchy on the ship is the first step towards embracing chaos. Putting weapons into untrained hands would be even worse. What's more, the enforcers are needed to maintain oversight and order. Withdraw those demands, and we will consider the rest. The tall worker they call Rivet shrugs and casts a sidelong look at the old woman. Old Nan, listen. Listen. The Lord Captain himself has come down to us and is offering concessions. And I don't know a single person in the whole of Depot 4 who's ever stood next to the rogue trader, let alone talk to them. Back down. Now's no time for you to be a stubborn old crone. Listen to us, old Nan. The 3 clans of Depot 4 ought to act as one. We've made our minds up. It's your turn to decide. Don't ask them to disband the enforcers or give us weapons. We don't need any of that. The old woman hisses in dissatisfaction. You two are ganging up on me, is that it? So brave you are against an old woman. But I'll shut up. I will indeed. I won't go against 2 clan leaders on my own. But if you want to make peace with the enforcers, make your peace. That's great. Just fantastic. Lord Captain, we're all agreed. Just kill them all anyways. Then it's decided. The persecution will stop, and I will expect you to assist in locating any remaining amulets or weapons left by the cultists. Your lordship, thank you. You have not abandoned us lower deckers. You came yourself and settled everything. I'll tell my grandchildren about this. Hey. Took food of the provisions? Hey. I needed that. Of course, your lordship. We'll root out any nasty business faster than the enforcers and we'll leave no stone unturned. Complete bedlam. All I did was just say, yeah, we're going to stop turning off the heat. What a strange world the rogue trader is. Hello, goods. Contraband on my own ship. What do we got? Another multi-key. Yoink.
We are bound by the blood of martyrs.
What's with all the valves?
This ocular implant was a worthwhile investment.
Applaud my brilliance.
The gauge shows that the steam pressure in this pipe is close to the maximum. However, it does not reach the bars at the other end. Okay. Nothing is happening. Perhaps turning a different valve will work. Oh, God. Minigame.
Know your duty.
Okay. Valve minigame. Is it this valve? I'm going to assume so far because I haven't heard anything. Do I have to go back and redo it? Please tell me I don't have to go back and redo it.
To the end.
The last time I screwed that up, I did. That valve doesn't do anything. That was apparently the right one. Hold on a tick. There's a secret valve down here. Nothing is happening. Nothing has happened. Okay. Nothing's happening. Oh. Goods. Hack it.
Genius triumphs.
I get. Oh, there's a so. Oh, good. Just what I wanted to see. Oh yeah, there's no strike here, no mutiny, and I just find myself a weapons cache. Grenades, crack grenades, force grenades, and melta charges with multi-keys. Yep. No mutiny here. Immediately regretting my decision. Stopping unexpectedly, Abelard imperiously dismisses the unit to stand at a distance and addresses your other companions, saying, "I have an urgent matter to discuss with the Lord Captain. Please give us a moment." Abelard looks at you and his last vestiges of restraint vanish. "Well, are you pleased with your investigation, Lord Captain? You kowtow to the disloyal rabble, you believe their lies and show them leniency. Next time the ship is attacked by the cultists, that rabble will welcome them in with open arms and allow you to wreak havoc, whatever they like, because they see you as a weak leader. Is that how you see your future at the helm of the von Valancia's protectorate?" Ooh, okay. Let's talk about your role in this instead. You allowed this revolt to happen. Your action, well, do not speak to your Lord Captain in that tone. I am obliged to speak thus. Who else can point out your errors and offer you counsel? All right, well, let's talk about your role in all this instead. You allowed this revolt to happen. Your actions practically guaranteed it would. I would have handled the situation myself had you not decided to intervene. Abelard says, what word is that? Irascibly? Remember, Lord Captain. Remember Lord Captain Theodora. Do you think she ever stepped one slippered foot on the lower decks? No, she did not. Such matters were left to myself and the junior officers, while she dedicated herself to her grand designs for the Protectorate, as any true strategist and rogue trader ought to. Well, maybe if Theodora had spent more time on trifling matters, she wouldn't have wound up dead. There's a new Lord Captain aboard this ship now, and I will not repeat her mistake. Abelard looks at you, stunned, and exhales loudly. And then he nods curtly. I commend your decisiveness, but I am uncomfortable with introducing new protocols in the midst of a crisis. And Abelard stands straight at attention. I lost my temper, Lord Captain, and I believe I ought to explain myself. Abelard speaks slowly, the words not coming easily to him. The prosperity of the Von Valancius Protectorate is not just an empty phrase to me. I left the Imperial Navy for the chance to see it flourish. It was the most momentous decision of my life. I did it because I saw in Lord Captain Theodora's deeds the sign of true greatness. Rogue traders do not simply forge new routes and capture worlds. They create order out of anarchy. That creative impulse was entirely lacking during my time in the military. So I left everything behind. Everything I had known, everything my family had known. I come from a long line of officers, and I embarked upon this incredibly reckless venture. Lord Captain Theodora entrusted me with all the concerns she had no time for. She would go off on her flagship for long periods, to distant frontiers on scouting voyages, and the advancement of the entire Protectorate rested on my shoulders. Then, suddenly, everything that had been built over years and years began to quake, rattling like a flimsy hangar in a seismically active world. One of the senior officers betrayed us all. The rogue trader was killed, and who knows what is happening on the planets. I tell you this honestly, without fear of appearing weak. All this has come as a grievous blow to me. I am not panicking or grieving because I cannot allow myself to panic or grieve. I am duty-bound to aid the new rogue trader, to aid you in finding your footing as quickly as possible. And to do that, I must insulate you from the problems that in the past have been dealt with by tried and tested procedures set out in the ship's regulations. Procedures that were established long ago and have functioned smoothly for decades cannot suddenly be deemed excessive to requirements. That is incredibly punishing on the voice box. Oh. Which ones? I understand, but you need to learn how to respect me as your Lord Captain and Rogue Trader. Accept it and start living in the new world. A world where Theodora is gone and where you and I have new decisions to make. Abelard solemnly inclines his head. Yes, Lord Captain. After a moment's silence, he adds, looking at you with interest. Your resolve is admirable and demonstrates strong leadership. I shall remember this moment, should my old habits ever begin to creep back. And now, please, let us leave the lower decks. If the rogue trader desires to stretch his legs, there are far more suitable places. Ooh, okay. I think we are done in the lower decks. To the bridge!
Is over us.
Maybe back onto the old route that we were taking before. Because that would be nice. Hey, levels. What are we getting? Air of Authority? The officer increases an ally's resolve by +4 until the end of combat. Oh, hey now. If the target is under the effective voice of command, they will start their next turn with +1 additional action points. That is good. More AP is good AP. Get back in the fight. Urges an ally who immediately recovers from burning, bleeding, toxin, and stunned effect. Under the voice of command, they'll gain 6 temporary wounds. Break their ranks. I can only target allies who have enemies adjacent to them. Okay. All melee attacks made by the target deal additional damage equal to 2 multiplied by the number of enemies adjacent to the target. Under the effective voice of command, they immediately make an attack of opportunity against an adjacent enemy, targeting the one with the lowest remaining wounds. Oh, that's also pretty good. We got move. Additional movement points equal to the fellowship bonus. Also ignores attack of opportunity if under the voice of command. Take aim is, I'm going to assume, yeah, precision. We'll ignore cover and we'll have double the effective distance. Nice. We'll also ignore enemy dodge. Additionally, the damage from this attack cannot be reduced below 45% for any reason. So even a heavily armored target cannot reduce damage below 45%. I'm actually going to go Air of Authority because that +1 additional action point, very nice. Very nice. Now, common talent. Do I want to change anything up? Because there is weapon proficiencies down here. Grants 2 movement points. Projectile weapons. Gain 2 minimum damage. Armor pen for power weapons. It allows you to use plasma weapons. We have not seen any of so far. Nimble. 10% bonus to dodge. Melt the weapons. Melee weapon specialist gives you sweep at -1 AP. Sweep or shove. Las weapon, -20 penalty to dodge against enemies. Increase wounds by half of the character's level rounded up. Reduces the required strength value for heavy weapons by 25. Wow, that's pretty good. Grenadier. First grenade does not use AP and does not count toward the attack limit. Nice. Flame weapons, dueling mastery, bonus to parry, dual combat. That's -20 penalty to weapon skill and ballistic skill and cost +1 AP more. Still pretty interesting. Combat Master. Enemies gain no melee superiority bonuses against this character. I think Abelard would love that one. Of course, there's all these skills. I'm going to look at Abelard's and see if he has Chain Weapon Expert too. Base skills. And back to our abilities. Again, while under 40 wounds, increase resolve, and +10 bonus to all characteristics. No heresy, ready to serve. How about these abilities? We got Summer Execution. Stack up at all costs. To resolve. +2 movement. 30 momentum. Summary execution might be good. But that does require us to kill the target, the commissar to kill the target. Motivation, no. Doing my part might be good for -1 AP. And before I forget, to Abelard. Strength. What was it? 1 point of strength is 5% damage increase. Yeah, 5% more damage with one-handed melee weapons and 10% more damage with two-handed. I'm going to give you more strength. Do melee weapon specialists. Combat master. Combat master might be better. So that way you don't get any melee superiority bonuses. I don't know how many times that's going to actually be a thing, but it might be. And you never know if we're going to find better weapons than the chainsword at the moment. We are still fairly new in this playthrough. Alright, Tom, what do you get? 45 agility. Probably use more weapon skill, to be honest. Oh. You know, for a blade dancer, you need more strength. Like, obviously, agility is good for dodge and everything, but you need to be able to do damage, too. Oh, we got blade in his hand. Any blade dancer attacks made with a sword deal plus agility bonus percentage damage. That might be good. Binding blades. Penalties do not stack. Medicaid. Now that is additional damage. Ooh, duelist. Would that be a thing? Use an additional +5 plus Blade Dancer's weapon skill bonus percentage damage. Its enemies armed with a melee weapon. Blade in his hand might be good. Owlcat, do we get a healer? Ooh. We get a healer. Invigorate. Regeneration is what we want, but that requires Invigorate or Enfeeble. What was Invigorate using? I think this is all intelligence, isn't it? Okay. There's a logic. No. So it is intelligence. Dare say maybe logic just to complete the list. Perception, strength, willpower. Give you some agility. Now for Argenta. You have bolt weapon proficiency. Now we have bolt weapon mastery. Gains plus 10% armor penetration. Who's a bolt weapon mastery? Oh. Or with like plasma weapons. Heavy weapons? I have not seen any really big heavy weapons yet. And I would be surprised if there wasn't a heavy bolter in here somewhere. Absolutely surprised. To the operative's next turn, their allies' attacks also remove exploits and deal intelligence bonus more damage. How about tactical knowledge? All allies gain plus exploits, remove percentage armor until the end of combat. Perfect spot. Increased cover efficiency, 15 perception. And what was it? 15 ballistic skill. That'd be good for if you're taking cover, no one's around you, so you can use your warp powers. You're gonna switch to a pistol. Presence. Either way, plus 6 intelligence, perception, fellowship, and willpower until the end of combat. Oh. Creates an area that lasts until the start of the Psyker's next turn. All allies within that area gain plus 6% dodge. The dodge chance cannot be less than 11. This might be a good one. Something you pop off at the very start. Intelligence, perception, fellowship, and willpower to the end of combat. You get divination. What's sensory deprivation? If the target makes a willpower resistance test, they are merely blinded until the start of the Psyker's next turn. If they fail it, they become blinded and suffer an additional -5 penalty to all characteristics. Reduced by blindness and must make a willpower resistance test at the end of each turn. The first success makes them just blinded, and the second success removes the blinded effect. So, that one's not bad. What are the upgrades based on? Oh, we have to make a call here. Dominate. Must pass a willpower resistance test with a -5 penalty, or on their next turn they will spend all their movement points to move as close as possible towards the Psyker. They can act as normal, but all their MP are spent on moving towards the Psyker. At the end of their turn, the target must make the willpower resistance test again, otherwise they remain under this effect. That one is interesting. It's very interesting to draw enemies towards you or draw them out of where the combat stance is. The downside is if they keep on failing the test, they're going to rush your psyker. And they can act normally. So if they were like ranged people, they could still take shots and everything else like that, but they just can't take cover as they move towards the psyker. And if they were melee, that would probably be the best option because it draws them out of cover and they can't attack anyone. I am torn on this one. Within a 16 cell radius. At least it is a fairly wide spell, though, like 24 cell radius for dominate. So you can literally grab somebody almost across the map and make them spend a turn or two just running towards you. And yeah, like I said, you could draw somebody out. And they can take a run at you. I wouldn't do this with bosses, mind you. That's where the big difference lies here. This is for literally everybody else in the battlefield except for a boss. And this is for literally everybody else in the battlefield, including a boss. I'm going to take sensory deprivation. And I'm going to give you more awareness. I think that works. Who else has officer? You have warrior, good. So far, no one else has officer, so that -1 ability, or -1 AP ability. That one does indeed actually affect us, so that's not bad. I should have checked that first before I picked it, but I didn't. Whoops. Alright, level's done. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all the time we have for today, so we're still trying to make our way towards the Navis Nobilite Station. I can see where a lot of this game might be kind of a little short here in an hour-long episode. We might have to look into maybe spending a little bit more time, but we'll try and work on spending more time on episodes where I don't have to speak for like an entire hour and hurt my throat. So that's the way that one goes. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this episode, by all means, please don't forget to hit that like button. If you want to support the channel at all, please don't forget to do the support buttons and all the clicky clackies and all those other fun things. Meantime, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one. Av Imperator.
I'm inbound on your starboard. 7 high 10. Eat this, toaster. Target acquisition is screwed. Give me manual control.